But you know what I want to talk about with this series? When Brook just hit a shot, what I want to talk about with this series is the Bucks have okay. I'm gonna take a step back. The Bucks need three things to happen to finish this series, to win this series. They need for at least two guys every single game, and this is obviously aside from Giannis, right? Two guys every single game have to be formidable from deep. They have to be. They have to knock down shots.
That's their game plan.
They got to have at least two.
And if that's the case, can I ask you something? Why he just hit a shot, but why is Eric Bledsoe playing so much?
Okay, I'm getting
okay, get to it. That's part of my opening. Like early in this game, he sat Malcolm Brogdon first, and Eric Bledsoe proceeded to, slip and slide his way into 2 turnovers. It's like, why did Brogdon sit? He just hit a 3. Like, but please go on.
This is part of my thing. All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing is they have to defend at an elite level across the squad. They have to defend that. I'm talking about rotations. I'm talking about all of that. They got to defend. The third thing, which I didn't even think was necessarily going to be a thing, Giannis has to make his free throws.
He does. I don't know why his free throws are so down.
And that's why I said I didn't think this was going to be a thing. I didn't think it was going to be a thing, but it has turned into a thing. So if they do that, those things, they will win this series, and they'll win it in 6 games. Yeah, but those things have become a big if. And the Bledsoe thing, I'm really close to a point where I'm not playing him on the floor while Giannis is playing.
Yeah, I mean, he has to not get thoroughly outplayed by Kyle Lowry, which you can say about any playoff point guard.
No, I'm getting to the point where and here's the reason why I can't play him. We're up 9 now. Great. Here's the reason why I can't play him with Giannis. The last thing you want with Giannis on the floor is for there to be a guy that Toronto thinks that they can double Giannis off of his guy. That's the worst thing that can happen.
Or triple.
And right now, Bledsoe is so bad from outside, and so his confidence is so shaken from deep. Right. When I'm talking about, man, his gather, when it comes to shooting the open 3, he like, boy, Lord Jesus, help me right now. Because this here, I'm having a problem with this right here. Yeah, every single time there's no confidence in it at all. So the way they're having the set offense up, and this is the smartest way, and they don't even do this every trip, is Giannis, if the rotations are bam, like one guy in the corner, a guy at the elbow, guy at the top, guy at the elbow, guy in another corner when they're running 5 out, Giannis has to be at the elbow here, and Bledsoe has to be in the corner. So at least if they're going to double off him, he has to come across the court to do it.
Yeah.
And
so the benefit of Bledsoe is he's played well for most of the year. Not fantastic, but they good enough for an extension. Great defense. He's been phenomenal defensively at times. I don't know if I would put him on the, all defensive team the way he got on there, but I understand the votes. I get it, especially with where Milwaukee was in the defensive ranking. But there seems to be 2 solutions for Eric Bledsoe. One, put the ball in his hands more, so that he can make plays for Giannis. Giannis shouldn't be the only one making plays all the time.
Right. He's wearing down too.
Right. And because 4 people are guarding him.
Yes.
Which is why it's kind of hard to critique Giannis in the sense of like there are 4 people on him. Like that's a coaching thing. And Boston did the same thing. And it's like they figured it out. Yeah. And they ran through Boston. Toronto's a better team than Boston. Kawhi's a better player than Kyrie. Especially Kawhi's a better defensive player than probably anybody in the league. So that presents a different obstacle because he carries more weight. But he's still not guarding Giannis one-on-one. He's just making it easier.
I'm trying to tell people that, man.
Yeah,
Somebody tried to tell me today at the gym that Kawhi was shutting Giannis down. I said, did you watch the game?
Oh, everybody just sticking to their man while he just
I'm like this ain't 2K. That's not how it works, bro. I mean, he's getting help, which is no slight to him. Right. I mean, it's freaking Giannis. Nobody can guard him by himself.
It's like this. Every single defender on Giannis, like every first defender, you're supposed to reduce a percentage of Giannis. And
Yes.
then the help reduces a more percentage. And
Yes.
hopefully you reduce enough percentages that he gets a turnover or he puts up a bad shot or he has to pass it out to a less talented player who's
Yes.
not wide open for a three.
That's the
Right?
basics. That's it.
That's
That's
the
the basics.
basics. And Kawhi subtracts him by a larger percentage than anybody else alive.
Yes. He needs less help.
But it's not 100%.
No, it's not 100%.
It's not 75.
It's not 70. It's about 35, 40, maybe,
Right.
is what it is.
40%. So he
Yes.
needs 1.5 people to help, which
Right.
gives them enough time to rotate. So
Yes.
credit to Kawhi because that's better than everybody else. But that's not
Yes.
this is a unique situation because Giannis is still a solo star on this team. The interesting thing about it is George Hill has been playing so well. And he solves so many of the Eric Bledsoe problems that I really feel like you could sit Bledsoe down entirely, not have to worry about that problem, save him for the next series, and run Pat Connaughton, Malcolm Brogdon, and George Hill as your 3-guard rotation, and you're fine. Like, they're fine. I don't know. They don't need Eric Bledsoe because of their depth. I don't know why he's getting so many chances to screw up.
Well, I think they need him, but I like what you said in regards to playing him, getting the ball in his hands more and
Mhm.
allowing him to literally play a more traditional style point guard where he is creating for Giannis. Allow Giannis to play off the ball. It will give Giannis some different sort of looks, some different attack points to the basket, and it'll take some pressure off of him and some wear and tear off him. I also like that because it gets Bledsoe in a flow.
Mhm.
It gets
Mhm.
him in a flow. He's getting the ball. He's dribbling the ball. He's handling it. He's getting into a rhythm. And now maybe his jump shot begins to open up in the fall after that. But I also like the concept of potentially playing him like a six man, where
Yes.
he comes in when Giannis isn't on the floor.
Mhm.
And you say, Eric,
You
go.
run the team,
You
like
go.
almost like Houston and
You
Chris
go.
Paul, where James
Exactly.
sits down and now Chris Paul is a traditional point guard
Yes.
until James comes back in, even though they also play together. And maybe, like you said, Eric gets in such a rhythm that he's now better able to play with Giannis again. But
Yes.
I think it's a matchup situation because Toronto's a good defensive team, and
Mhm.
they're also, and I've been praising them for this for a while, an intelligent team.
Yes.
So they make really, really great rotations and they make them consistently. They're a very
Mhm.
selfless, intelligent team.
They
And
are.
they're going to make those rotations. So against other teams, Bledsoe might be more open to penetrate or more wide open for the 3-point shot. But on this team, they give you a little less time.
Yeah.
I think against if they were to advance and play against Golden State, Bledsoe becomes more valuable because of his individual defense on Kawhi and Steph Curry. In this one, where Danny Green is the other guy, George Hill and Malcolm Brogdon got that covered. They are fine.
Hmm. Hmm. And I also think that he becomes more valuable to them against Golden State because of his physicality and
Mm-hmm.
his athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
He like Steph can't guard him,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't even matter if his shot's not falling. He can't.
But Kyle Lowry, for as hard of a time as people have been giving him, he's been excellent in this series.
He has been
And
pretty good.
even in previous series when he wasn't shooting well, he was doing some really good playmaking and excellent defense. Like
Yes.
sometimes excellent defense.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
and he, because of his shooting, he wasn't getting credit for it. And now that he's shooting better, people are seeing that he's overall been playing a better game. And I'm not coming here just to defend Kyle Lowry.
Hmm.
He deserved the criticisms he was getting. He was not holding up his end of the bargain, and Kawhi was carrying too much weight. But now he's playing a really complete game. They don't need, and because he's so good defensively, having him versus Bledsoe is not the lopsided arrangement that you would have against other point guards.
Right, right. I mean, if you look at Kyle Lowry, like this series, right? He's had two what you would call mediocre games, right? But he's also has a 30 and a 25-point game in the series. And if you look at the three-point shooting, he's getting kind of he's getting a lot of flack for his three-point shooting, but he's not coming into this game. he'd knock down 15 threes and he'd take in, let's see, this 18 plus 13 is 31. So 15 of 30, 15 to 31 last time I checked is a really good 3-point percentage. It's almost 50% from three. So he really only had one bad shooting game, and that was game 2 when he was 4 for 13 from the field, 2 for 9 from three. Otherwise he's been shooting the three well. Now I think the rap on him could come from a lack of aggressiveness in the double overtime game, but they won that game.
Wasn't he sitting during that? Didn't he foul out?
He did foul out. He played 32 minutes, but in 32 minutes, he only took 7 shots. But 6 of those were threes, and he made 3 of them. You know what I'm saying? So I do think he's getting a little bit too much flack, especially when you consider how hard he's playing as well. You know, and I also think that he has a relatively short leash with people in the postseason, dating all the way back to the fact that he's talking about he needs to decompress and all that kind of garbage. You know, that right there is kind of like, dude, we just wait. We 5 seconds off you anytime, you know. But if you look at what he's done,
I'm on both sides of it, because I think he has earned some criticism, but I think he is receiving biased criticism, where people aren't looking at all of the things he's doing on the court. There was that game where he scored 0 points against Orlando, and the opposing coach was like, he played an excellent game, and people were like, ha ha ha. It's totally valid to criticize the scoring, but I understood what the coach meant.
Yeah.
I don't think the coach was just lying because the guy scored 0 points.
There wasn't Kyle Lowry,
as a floor general, there were things he was doing well, and he has continued to do those things well.
Yeah, definitely. And Kyle Lowry is looking at put it like this. Kyle Lowry liked playing with DeMar DeRozan, but I think he loves playing with Kawhi, because he's like, this guy right here, he's gonna get it done. Like, I think Kawhi has ascended to a place where his teammates have this belief in him that is like he's unquestionable by a teammate at this point, just because of the way he carries himself, the results that he's been able to generate. He's at that level right now, and I think that Kyle Lowry, not really being a number one kind of guy, it really appreciates playing with a guy like that. And I think that's why he can have played a solid game and not have any points. Now, do they still need more than 0 from him? Yes, they do.
Right.
They do. But I understand the concept. I do. And like Jason Battle is in the chat, he's saying that he didn't like the fact that I said that Steph couldn't guard Bledsoe. Bro, Steph can't guard Bledsoe. But I mean, that's not a good matchup for Steph. Bledsoe's too fast. He's too strong. He's too great of an athlete. And Steph, that's not Steph's best part of his game. Now, Steph's going to be where he's supposed to be. You know, because positional on positional defense, he's going to be what he's supposed to be. But man on man, Bledsoe's a tough cover for most guys
particularly because of the way, if Steph is just standing by Bledsoe while Bledsoe's on the 3-point line, and Giannis draws attention, and Bledsoe's coming off the catch, Steph physically is not an ideal matchup for Bledsoe dive bombing towards the basket on the catch.
He's not.
Bledsoe is going to be okay in those situations. So, but again, Jason Battle's not objective when it comes to Golden State. So you know.
Yeah, it's Oaktown, baby. It's Oaktown. But yeah, I think that's a tough. I think that, and to me, that right there is part of why I picked Milwaukee to beat Golden State. It's not even and I still believe that they're going to beat Toronto, right? Having not even looked at the score, what it is right now, but I still believe they're going to be. But the reason why I still hold on to them as my pick to win it all is because I think that matchup wise, they present a real problem for Golden State, especially with Durant's situation being up in the air. I think it's a real question because you got to find some place to put Steph on defense, right? You obviously, Giannis, not going to work. Bledsoe, not going to work. Middleton, not going to work. who does he guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because the Golden State has a lot of really solid defenders, but after a while you start to run out of them. And then where does this matchup go? I mean, because to me, you got to alternate Draymond, Clay, and Iguodala on Giannis. It's got to go back and forth, and then
Right.
they still have to get help.
And Iggy's banged up. So I still pick Golden State to win the title, whether or not Durant plays.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're that good. I've been, again, a champion for Steph Curry as being a better player than people give him credit for. He gets taken out of the conversation of best player. But Curry and Giannis are an interesting case study because I think they both are in the same situation. Neither player is as skilled as Kevin Durant overall,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And Steph is skilled obviously in many ways, but Kevin Durant being so tall, his skills mean more.
Yeah.
Your physicality and how you capitalize on it with your skill set makes your skills that much more overpowering. So when people have the best player discussion, I understand why it's KD first and Kawhi second, especially Kawhi being the best defensive player probably of this generation. Like, he's just ridiculous.
He's really good.
So I get it. But the thing about Giannis and Steph is that their specific skill sets, of which they are specialists, all-time specialists, right? In my life, I've never seen four people dive at a perimeter guy the way they do on Giannis. And when I say perimeter guy, I mean he's coming from the perimeter into the paint. He's not catching the ball in the paint. He's bringing it up court. I've never seen...
I would like to see them go to that sometimes.
I think he should post up more because he's good in the post. We've been talking about this for a while. He's good in the post. Steph and Giannis change the way the other four players are able to play. And they do it in a way far and above anybody else at their position. Even though there are other great players at their position. Kyrie Irving is phenomenal, especially offensively. Damian Lillard is phenomenal offensively. I do think his rib injury made that series a bit easier, right? Because he did look different. I'll give him a little bit of that credit. But Steph Curry is elite at what he does. And it's not just shooting. It's the shooting, the ball handling, the off-ball movement, the decision-making. He is like arguably the greatest all time at that combination of skills. And while he could be better defensively, he doesn't have Kyrie's post-up game. He's not overpowering physically. He's not the fastest guy, right? There are better passers than Steph. He's a good passer, but there are better passers. Mm-hmm. Because of how elite he is at his skill set, it makes Golden State overall really hard to deal with. And if you got rid of Steph and kept KD, you'd have a worse version of Golden State. Whereas KD on or off Golden State is a marginal difference. It's a difference, but it is a marginal difference. I think they are a championship team with or without KD. They are a championship team with, an escape hatch when they have KD.
I for the most part, agree. But here's where I disagree. I think that there are specific matchups with teams that Durant becomes more important. And I think that Milwaukee is one of those teams. Milwaukee and Houston are those teams that Durant becomes more important because those teams force you to be able to execute and to be elite in half-court situations with individual dominance and individual elite talent. And I think that Durant is the guy who says, you know what? It doesn't matter. You happen to catch us on a day where you guys are defending the perimeter well, you guys are rotating well, and we're not making shots, or some mixture of those three factors. But Durant says, you know what? None of that matters.
But even with you saying that, we haven't seen them lose full powered yet.
Right. Well,
the only reason they lost to the Cavaliers is because Draymond Green got suspended. If he didn't get suspended, come on. If you were watching the series, the Cavaliers were going to lose that series.
It looked like that, definitely.
Right? So people are taking that loss to the Cavaliers to say that they would have always lost that matchup. At worst, I think that goes back and forth.
I don't actually look at that as a symbol of their vulnerability without Durant as much as I look at them going down 3-1 to the Thunder or them going down 3-2 to the Rockets last year.
And see, I think the biggest thing with with what you said about them going down 3-1 to the Thunder
Mhm.
is when Durant leaves the team, if he leaves the team, they have to now deal with him. And that may be a problem. Dealing with Kevin Durant, depending on where he goes, or Kawhi Leonard, that presents a serious matchup problem for the Golden State Warriors. Do I think that they automatically lose that? I still think the Warriors are the favorites to win the championship, even if they lose KD. Straight up. And the thing is, their management is so good that I fully expect that they will replace him with a set of players that work really well in their system.
I understand what you're saying. I feel like last year Houston had them. And I feel like the only reason Houston didn't win that series last year is because Chris Paul got hurt. I think if Chris Paul doesn't get hurt, they beat them. They were beating Golden State as if we are the better team in that series last year.
Counter argument: the evidence shows that James Harden always chokes when he's about to win.
Well, it's not
it always happens.
and that's not anything that I can really dispute. But
Right.
what I can say is up to that point with him and Paul together, there was enough pressure being taken off of Harden.
But
The
that was
way
with
they were
KD
playing,
though.
the way they were playing last year, you know, and it was with KD. The way they were playing last year, I felt that showed me a little bit about how you can beat them, and if you also mix that in. Obviously, it's a different brand, a different situation because Kevin Durant wasn't with them when they were playing Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook when they went down 3-1. But stylistically, they play similar still, right? And I feel that this team, the way you beat Golden State, and I've said this time and time again, is with one or two elite individual offensive talents and tempo controllers on the offensive side, and then elite level defense from a rotation standpoint on defense. That's the way now I'm not saying nobody's blowing them out, smashing them, making them look like you're going 6 or 7 at the very least, 6 in any series with them because they're just that great. But I
And
believe
I
that
don't think you're wrong.
they're gettable.
But I give them the respect of saying I believe it.
Yeah.
And the Houston, them going down versus Houston. I mean, they were down worse to Oklahoma City. So
they were
yeah,
down, but you know
and
what? They
that
were
was totally
down
earned
worse.
against Oklahoma City.
Oh,
Like
it was.
they beat Oklahoma City by Klay Thompson being completely unstoppable. And Klay has proven that he can and will do that. Like on the regular, like that is his skill set. That's not. It wasn't. I mean, the threes he was hitting against Oklahoma City were crazy, right?
Yeah.
I do think Durant deserves a lot more blame than he's getting for Game 6. He was really, really, really atrocious, and inexplicably so for too long. And I don't think superstars tend to get away with that. I think because he went to Golden State, people are erasing it from his record. And if Golden State wins without him, they're going to start looking at stuff like that again. But I think I just have the belief that Golden State would have turned it on against Houston and won. Another way to put it, I have more faith in Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green than I do in James Harden and Chris Paul.
I mean, I think that is a relatively fair assessment.
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, I think that's a fair opinion. I don't agree with it in the case of what we saw last year, but I can't say that is like ridiculous, right? I understand where you're coming from, but I just feel like they had them and that popped it.
I want to shout out the chat real quick. My man Joe Anderson said everyone travels and double dribbles. NBA died in the 70s. 70s is going a little far. If you watch those games from the 70s on back, I mean, really, even in the 80s and 90s, there are a lot of improvements that have been made to the sport of basketball since then that people should definitely appreciate. I mean,
I think so too.
You look at the skill level of these players. I think when we get to the old school point, there are things about the old school that there's a beauty and intelligence and skill that we are in danger of losing, but there's also a beauty and intelligence and skill that's new and an evolution from back in those days. That having been said, I hate that they allow guys to fully palm the ball. You got guys 6'8", 6'9", 6'11", getting their hand completely under the basketball, taking a step and turning it back over and dribbling again. There was a reason that was illegal. And these so-called more skilled, versatile guys they would have been cheating back then. That they would have been called for that every single time. And for some reason, they're just letting them get away with it. And I really do think it's an eyesore in the game, because I do think the guys are skilled enough that they don't have to travel as much as they do.
Yeah, up under the ball is a lot. I can deal with side of the ball.
Side of the ball, I'm fine with.
But up under the ball is a lot. You know, that's where I get a bit like, come on, bro, up under the ball. Like, I mean, that's a clear violation.
Yeah, people blame Allen Iverson for that. But if there's two things about AI. Number one, he was super, super fast. So if you actually saw, like watching him on 24 frames a second, you think you're seeing everything. But if you watch him in person, if you freeze everything that you think may or may not be a palming violation, sometimes he was on the side of the ball. Sometimes he was under the ball. Sometimes he was on top of the ball. But he was so quick, it was really hard to eyeball the difference. It wasn't like he was just traveling all the time and they were getting away with it. These guys are literally doing hezzies where their palm is going under the ball. I'm not talking about the crossovers. I'm talking about the hezzies. And there's a big difference, because that's an advantage.
It's definitely an advantage, because a good defensive player plays the gather.
Yes.
That's what a good defensive player does. And what happens is when you put your hand under the basketball, you're able to simulate the gather in an artificial way that tricks the defender but you're breaking the rules in this trick, because as soon as your hand goes under the ball, that's the beginning of a gather. And now I'm closing because I'm taking away your space to shoot the jump shot, but you're taking another dribble when you shouldn't be able to. And that's why hand under the ball is such a bad look for basketball. You know, so I do hope that that's something that they tweak, but I don't think it will, because
it's been getting worse, not better.
Because it's sexy and it's what people want to see, and it allows guys. I mean, like we were looking in the All-Star game when Kyrie did that move against Giannis, and he cupped the ball like this behind him, and everybody went, "Oh!" I'm like, "How would you mean? Oh, that's a what do you mean? That's a travel, man. Like that's not good. No, don't yay that." I saw somebody clapping their hands. I slapped their head down. No, don't clap for that. That's trash. So, but yeah, I'm totally with you there.